Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be going over 5 meta counters. I want to talk about 5 of the best heroes in the current meta, and talk about 3 heroes for each of those heroes that counter them. And so yeah, if you're looking for knowledge to pick better heroes in the draft to make your game a lot easier, this is the video for you. Also, I just want to remind you guys, we are currently running a 50% off sale for the gameleap sub. So if you aren't broken yet and you're trying to get to the next rank, just give it a shot. We have a refund policy. Worst case, you don't gain 1,000 MMR in a week like most people do. I'm kidding, But yeah, you can always get a refund. You're going to love the content there. Click the link down below. Use code SUMMER when you're checking out. And let's get into the video. Alright, starting off, number 1, Winter Wyvern. Arguably the most dominant position 5 of the current meta, a 52% win rate in pubs, which is very impressive considering this hero usually is not a high win rate hero in pubs, only because it's very hard to play. But, even though it's hard to play, it's just broken right now. The Q is a great value point, the W is wave shove, the E plus Holy Locket is relatively broken. Now, let's get into the counters. With number 1, we have PUGNA. This is probably my favorite out of all of them. The utility that PUGNA has just makes so much dang sense against Wyvern. Number 1, Curse. Okay, if your teammates get cursed, you just decrep them, and then they take no damage. It's a direct counter. Number 2, Nether Ward. Wyvern uses quite a bit of mana. Boom. And then finally, when you Cold Embrace someone, PUGNA, right? What counters Cold Embrace? Magical damage and anti-heal. What does PUGNA have? Not anti-heal, but magical damage. Decrep them up, throw down another blast and a life drain, and you can often kill people through the Cold Embrace. So really, Wyvern just doesn't have much against PUGNA at all. Second on the list is Timber. The only thing I will say about Wyvern against Timber is when you get the Holy Locket on Wyvern, you can actually out-heal Timber's damage, and so, meh. But previous to that, it's a good matchup. Wyvern's Q is also decent against Timber, but the thing is, like, Timber rushes a hood, and so you can just completely counter the damage that Wyvern puts out. Also, if you get cursed next to someone, you don't do any right-click damage, so like, who cares? The lane's very easy, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. Wyvern just never threatens you heavily. You always threaten Wyvern. You're good at jumping her in the backline, which Wyvern hates. You can also chop down trees, which Wyvern flies over. So that's a lot of reasons right there that Timber definitely counters Wyvern. And finally, we have BATRIDER. I know it's like, okay, BATRIDER, it's a weird hero, but BATRIDER is very similar to PUGNA and Timber, where Wyvern just doesn't really do much to this hero. BATRIDER's a natural BKB buyer, which, you know, counters out a lot of Wyvern. Obviously, Wyvern can curse BKBs, but typically BATRIDER looks to jump saving supports in the first place. So, right, what is Wyvern? Backline saving support. You jump him, you buy BKB, there you go. Then Cold Embrace also is not good against BATRIDER. You can kidnap people who are Cold Embraced, or you can drag them wherever you want, and most importantly, you can sticky napalm firefly them, and it absolutely dumpsters them. Next up on the list is SEER. This hero currently is actually a very high win rate in pubs, and seemingly is just doing very well. I think the main reason for this is the Ags, if I'm not mistaken. I think a lot of players know to rush the Ags, and frankly, it's really just great in pubs. Makes your teammates tankier, which naturally prevents them from committing suicide, which they like to do, and it shoves waves very easily. It's a very brainless way to shove waves, and that's quite nice. But here's a couple counters. Number 1, Nyx Assassin. Very simple. If you don't know why this counters Darkseer, I don't know. Very simple. Spike Carapace, so easy to use against Darkseer. This hero is like purely AoE damage. There's not a single hero that's easier to Carapace than Darkseer, I would say. Then we have Mana Burn. Right, you're very high int hero. Darkseer is he the highest? I actually don't know. He's the highest or second highest int hero in the game, in gain per level hero in the game, and you buy mana boots, and you just have a ton of mana, and so you just want to burn Darkseer mana over and over and over again. Darkseer has mana problems, because Darkseer uses so much mana with all 3 of his spells, especially Ion's Shell just being such a spammable spell. He runs out of mana very easily and in team fights, and so the mana burn is a huge counter, and then you just have a stun. Next up is Doom. Just Doom Darkseer in the fights. He also rush BKB, which is like, you know, if you don't have BKB against Darkseer, it is like very hard to play the fights, which is why illusion heroes typically struggle against Darkseer. If you just don't have a BKB, you just get caught in Ion Shells, caught in a wall, caught in a vac, and it just becomes a mess. Doom, he completely avoids all of those problems. Then, last but not least, we have Faceless Void. Time dilation is the biggest reason. Darkseer really relies on just kiting around with Surge, and he has 4 active spells, and so if you time dilate him in a team fight, he's just, yeah, can't move. Just can't move. And also, what is the main way Dark Seer saves people? That'd be Surge. You know what counters Surge? Chrono, because they can't move. Believe it or not, they can't move. Also, the laning stage is pretty good. Only because if you ever get gone on by like a vacuum and 2 ion shells, you can just get away from it. It's really important. You know, some heroes, if they get stuck in, you know, an ion shell on a Dark Seer, plus an ion shell on a melee creep, and then they get vacked into it, it often just does at least half of their health, if not more. And Void just doesn't care. Next up on the list is Nyx Assassin. This hero is one of the most popular position 4s not only in pubs, but also in the pro scene. It's also doing incredibly well in the pro scene. So the first counter to Nyx Assassin is Chaos Knight. I'm a huge fan of this one for multiple reasons. Number one, Nyx Assassin is not great against illusions. Yes, Impale is an AoE stun, it is, but it's not a wide AoE stun, it's hard to use, and so, right, not too good against the illusions. Next up, Nyx's armor is mediocre, and therefore CK with his armor reduction from Reality Rift can allow you to one-shot Nyx Assassin. But most importantly, you just can kill Nyx very quickly. The big thing about Nyx in teamfights is he wants to stay alive, pop like 2 or 3 Spike Carapace, 2 or 3 stun, multiple mana burns, and just kind of grieve people throughout the fight. CK counters that. CK doesn't do long fights. He does quick bursts. Even Nyx with Ags does not like CK because you're one of the only heroes that does enough damage and likes heroes that don't move to kill him. And also you have a stun against Spike Carapace, which is really useful because if you stun him before he gets it off, he might not get it off. Next up is RIKI. I think the biggest reason for this is like in pubs, people can just feed to Nyx because they forget he exists. RIKI, it's like kind of funny. It's hard to feed to Nyx because like Nyx can't pop dust and stay invis. You know, if Nyx pops dust to try to catch RIKI, well, there goes Vendetta. And so that matchup kind of goes out the window there. And then Smokescreen. Smokescreen Diffusal, preventing Spike Carapace. I cannot stress how important it is to be able to just prevent Spike Carapace to be a Nyx counter. Like, I even thought about putting OD for a second in the video just because of Astral. But like, it sounds kind of stupid. All I'm trying to say is like, if he pops Carapace and you Astral him, then he doesn't Carapace anymore. But unfortunately, that matchup has, you know, some issues and some of the other categories, such as Mana Burn against OD and Spike Carapace. If he hasn't used it and you Astral him, he can use it out of the Astral. But you get the point. And finally is Winter Wyvern. I know this one might seem a little bit weird. It's like Wyvern's an NT hero for Mana Burn. You can E the W, right? The Splinter Blast. You can Spike Carapace the Splinter Blast. Nyx is a hero that hunts backliners, but let me talk about it. Okay, number one, it's actually not easy to Spike Carapace Splinter Blast. It's just like, I don't know, Wyvern doesn't really use it in team fights in very obvious ways. It's not something like, you know, a Nether Toxin or an Ion Shell where it's like, okay, you just easily E it. You're not going to easily Spike Carapace a Splinter Blast, so there's that. The Q is single target damage, which is Wyvern's, I would argue, second most important teamfight spell until you have Holy Locket. And so there's that, and then Spike Carapace just doesn't do anything against Winter's Curse. Winter's Curse is actually one of the hardest counters in the game to Spike Carapace, because let's say Nyx pops Spike Carapace and there's a Venom Assassin next to him. Just curse either of them, and it's good, because it will completely kite out the duration of the stun, right, the Carapace, and then allow you to kill him right afterwards. Next up on the list is Tilt. Okay, I know it's not a hero, but it's very important. Just remember, we all have shitty games, okay? Not every game's gonna go your way. In fact, you might have 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 games in a row where you're like, my teammates are trash, I cannot win, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Just remember, every pro player started at Lone Moor. Every pro player played a game where they had no clue what they're doing, or games where they maybe not had no clue what they're doing. You're probably not at that stage, to be honest. You know, it's not like there's actually new players in Dota. Come on, that's insane. But you get the point, right? It's like, guys, they were 3K, 4K at some point. I was 3K or 4K at some point. I can say it personally for myself. But I remember I was at this hotel. We were traveling. I think we were visiting colleges at the time. You know, trying to see what college I might go to. College is university, by the way, if you're not from the US. And I remember thinking, like, I was just so mad because not only, like, I had hit 4K. I was very happy about that. But then I remember hitting 4K and starting to get paired with, like, 4K and more players who kind of scared me at the time, and thinking like, oh my god, I'm not good enough. I lost like 5 games in a row at the hotel. I was on vacation. I already didn't want to be there because, like, I don't know, it's just not fun to tour colleges. At least it wasn't for me. And like, man, I just remember being so tilted and so lost. And the thing is, you can get out of it. It's just whether or not you put the time in. Like, just keeping it real. Are you going to put the work in, put the time in? Are you going to play the game more than everyone else? Are you going to stay focused? Are you going to watch videos? You know, that type of thing. And do you even have a game leap sub, right? That's the biggest answer to all of your problems. So, I mean, right then and there, you should check yourself. But all right, last but not least is Ancient Apparition. Yeah, another 5 hero, similar to Wyvern, dominating pubs right now. Really one of the highest win rates in the entire game. Couple of counters, really the heroes that can get to the backline, prevent them from getting off a good AA blast, and can often ignore Ice Vortex. These are big things for me, because Ice Vortex, in my opinion, is his best spell. I mean, obviously his ulti is like the main reason why I picked the hero, just because it just lets you play tempo in the early game and then counter heals late game, which is just so valuable in this current meta. But Ice Vortex is like nutty good. For instance, like Naga, right? You're playing Naga. How can you move against Ice Vortex? It's such a problem. You just lose all your movement speed. Illusions can't BKB, so you just get screwed by it. But a hero like CLINKZ, he just buys BKB, insta-kills AA, and there you go. And probably buys Orchid, and then kills the AA. All of a sudden, no AA. And then, like, I don't know, teamfights kind of fall apart when there's no AA, because, like, for a lot of AA comps, you have, like, a Sand King, right? And he really needs the Ice Vortex plus Blast to kill people. Without it, I don't know, he's kind of useless. Next up on the list is Phantom Lancer. Unlike Naga, you can actually get away from Ice Vortex and get on top of AA. You can also buy a Hood, which Naga doesn't really like to do. PL can do this. To be fair, in the early game, AA is actually pretty good against PL because you amp magical damage and PL hates that. But you have Phantom Rush to get away, you have Doppelganger, and you get to the backline. And finally, last but not least, is BREWMASTER. Yeah, you just ulti and kill the AA. You throw up someone else and go solo kill the AA, and it's a great start to the fight. It's really just, yeah. The only thing you have to be careful about in this matchup is you can get bursted, right? AA is a burst hero. Brew doesn't like that, so gotta be careful, but as long as you can get your ulti off, right? Get an Aeon Disc, get a BKB, whatever, you need to stay alive. Make sure you get off that ulti, hopefully an Ags ulti. And then, yeah, throw up a core, go solo kill the AA, and you're probably gonna win your team the fight. But nonetheless, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace! And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the GameLeap website, where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace!